really is a common refrain I get from people who learn what I did before pursuing my art career. I actually entered college with the intent of becoming a medical illustrator. And so I took a lot of pre-med classes and art classes. And along the way, I was also working part-time with a buddy of mine whose family owned a funeral home. I was 19 years old, and so I thought, well, I've got all the prerequisite classes, why not? And so I went on to mortuary school. I thought it was a very noble profession. Helping people in time of need seemed like a worthwhile career, so I did it. A mortuary degree is comprised of two parts. You have the funeral directing side and you have the embalming side. With the embalming side, you also have the restorative art aspect, which is presenting the human body for viewing. And in some cases, people who die of emaciating diseases or trauma require special attention, and that's called restorative art. I did really well in this area, and so upon graduation I received the Restorative Art Award at my mortuary college, and so I then became fully licensed funeral director and embalmer, and for 3 years that's what I did. I worked at a funeral home. And I actually did many cases. People were brought to me who died of in these situations where they otherwise would not have been able to be viewed, and which is important because just from a psychological standpoint, people need to see the loved one in the casket psychologically in order to properly go through the grieving process and get to that place of acceptance, one part. And the other part is just the respect of the dead, and to be able to have that for them. After 3 years in the industry, the mortuary business, I couldn't deny that I had a nagging tug to go pursue my art career. It's something that I had always done as a kid. I'd always been involved in art, even while I was doing mortuary stuff. I was always in art classes or drawing. My mother will tell you that when I was a little kid, I'd be in the corner drawing. That was my thing. I always wanted, for birthdays or Christmas, I wanted art supplies. And so it's something that was put in me from the beginning. And so I couldn't deny, and this is something I wanted to do. I was leaving a very lucrative, obviously very stable position to go pursue an art career, which anybody knows is not. It's one of the great unknowns entering into, but I had to do it. I had to pursue it. The knowledge I have gained from what I learned in those early days in my mortuary studies, as well as hands-on experience in the field, have helped tremendously. To know what's happening under the skin has paid huge dividends for me. Knowing how a muscle works, or what a bone is doing in the hands or in the face has paid big dividends. I could never have choreographed my career path the way it turned out, but I am so grateful for the way it did. I met many wonderful people along the way, and the privilege of painting people in the world of business, academia, sports, clergy, politics. It's really opened up a whole different world for me. I'm especially proud of 2 major commissions that I've done. 2 official congressional portraits which are hanging in our United States Capitol in Washington, D.C., along with many others. So yes, would I have choreographed it this way? No. Could I have? No. To me, it's divine, and I'm grateful for what I do. I'm asked often what my favorite medium is, and I work in three separate mediums. I work in charcoal, I work in pastel, and I work in oil. And if I were on a deserted island and I could only have one, it would be pastel. Pastel is a very immediate medium. The thing about pastel is there's a misnomer. People think it's chalk. It is not. Pastel is actually pure pigment smushed into, under pressure, smushed into a stick form. There's very little binder holding pastel together. If you drop a stick of pastel, it's going to go everywhere. And if you grind pastel and mix it with linseed oil, you have oil paint. So if I had one to choose, I love them all, but it would be pastel. Every painting, every next painting is my favorite painting because it's something new. It's something new to dig into. The big commissions I've done, as I mentioned earlier, are the United States congressional portraits. And it's not that those people are any better. It's sort of a recognition as to where I am in my career. I've also done major commissions for universities. But I'm also asked, you know, if there's a fire, which painting would I grab on the way out the door? And it would have been the one of my grandma, the one I painted of my grandma. Not necessarily because it's the best painting, but because it